What's up, everybody? Got another video for you. I mean, my God, what a Monday. I wanted to do this video earlier, but I had a lot of work to do, man. I've been out for the week and I had a whole lot of stuff to catch up on. But I got to tell you, what I saw in this Whitlock interview with Mychal Thompson. See, this is the benefits of Jason Whitlock and what he has. He has the ability to get interviews like Mychal Thompson to come on his show because of his, you know, industry experience and so forth. So I say thank you for this interview because I'm excited to listen to it in full. I've listened to it in clips, and I will tell you this, holy Lord. From what I heard, this is exactly why we keep on saying that men should be coaching women's basketball. This is exactly why we keep saying that you need strong male personalities in order to coach women's basketball teams. And that's why the Dallas Wings right now are successful because they have a strong male personality in their building dealing with these types of petty minded individuals, which are basically women. I mean, you hate saying it that way, but it is what it is. It is what it is. This is a league filled with pettiness and jealousy, over the top jealousy, in fact, that you would still have a problem with someone who's making you all your money. But let's jump into this video right here. Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of Indiana Fever Unfiltered, powered by Come On Now, the podcast. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hype the video, and leave your comments. Appreciate y'all continued support. Let's jump right into this video. No point in wasting time because it's a decently length interview. It's about God. I don't know if I'm gonna go all. Man, shoot, it's a good 30 minutes long. So I don't know if I'm gonna do the whole thing, but do as much of it as possible. Let's take a listen.
Welcome to Fearless. And so I know, according to Steve Kim, you're a longtime fan. You've watched some Fearless in the past. We're happy to have you on here. Uh, do you stand by your original tweet that, according to a reliable source, the Indiana Fever do not want Caitlin Clark?
Well, that's what I'm hearing, from all the contacts we have around the basketball world. You hear that, and you watch the Fever play. I watch every game. I've watched every game of Caitlin since she was a sophomore at Iowa. So I've known about her for a long time, been a big fan of hers, probably the biggest fan of hers outside of her family, because I love the way she played the game. And from watching the Fever, it just looks like they don't want the Caitlin Clark that we fell in love with at Iowa. The Caitlin Clark that used to play with daring and with bravado, coming down and pulling up with logo threes on the break, playing with that kind of confidence. I don't see that Caitlin anymore, so I don't even know if the Fever want that Caitlin Clark to play for them. They seem to want more of a benign, more of a pedestrian point guard. So I don't think her style fits the way they're using her. So it looks to me like they prefer to have more of a traditional type of point guard, not a point guard who can shoot from the logo threes. We want that Caitlin back, and we're not seeing that Caitlin anymore.
Michael, you've been in.
So basically, Whitlock, his comments, he made comments on Twitter about sources. Well, Mychal Thompson's sources are obviously separate from Whitlock, and I don't know if Whitlock's source was Mychal Thompson. I have no idea when he made the comment about trading to the LA Sparks. But again, someone else. We love the Caitlin Clark that is able to play basketball. Her game, her way.
Involved with basketball since the 70s, 80s. I mean, high level basketball. The university.
By the way, Mychal Thompson's from Bahamas, went to high school at Miami Jackson High School in Miami. Son is Klay Thompson, played for the Los Angeles Lakers for many, many years with Magic Johnson, James Worthy, and the crew over at the Lakers. So he has a long history in the game. He is a current radio commentator for the Lakers. So he has people that that talk. So I do trust what he said. I do believe what he said. I just didn't know what Whitlock was coming with because he said sources himself, and I don't know what sources he has. So, but this guy just told you he watched every game of Caitlin Clark since she was a sophomore. So, been watching her for a minute.
University of Minnesota, am I right?
Right.
Yeah, University of Minnesota, and then of course in the NBA. Have you ever seen this before with such, obviously you played with Magic Johnson, you played in the era with Bird, Magic, Kareem. Have you ever seen this before where you have this transcendent superstar and they seem to have adopted a system that doesn't work for Caitlin Clark?
Never seen this in any sport. It'd be like taking the serve away from Serena Williams. A coach telling her, "No, I don't like that big serve you have. So let's have a more traditional serve, one that's not as hard and can't. It's like taking the bat out of Otani's hands and turning him into a single sitter. It's like taking the second best lineman in the history of football next to Ball State's Jason Whitlock's, the late great Larry Allen from the Cowboys, and turning him into a long snapper. They've taken away Caitlin's superpowers. And when you draft a player like Caitlin, like a Steph Curry, a Magic, an Isaiah Thomas, of course, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, when you have a player of that caliber, of a Wemby, you play to their strengths and you build around a franchise player such as that. And it seems like they brought the franchise player in to make them play the way they want to play, as opposed to adopting to her style and what made her the most popular basketball player in the world when she was at Iowa.
God darn. This man just said in one sentence what everyone's been thinking, but apparently we're all dumb and we don't know what we're talking about when we speak. He just told you, you're taking her superpowers away by trying to play a bland form of basketball. Then why the hell did you draft her? Why would you keep her? If you want to play dull, boring basketball, why did you keep her? If they had played slow down basketball with Magic Johnson and taking the ball from Michael Jordan and taking the ball from Larry Bird and taking the ball from Isaiah Thomas and done all these things, take away Dan Marino's arm, make him hand the ball off 50 times a game. Take away the ball from Pat Mahomes, make him hand the ball off 50 times a game. Taking away why we're watching them and why they're great. Steph Curry, you can't shoot the ball. No, sir. Again, the logic of a man differentiates from the illogical reasoning of LGBTQ women who are just simply jealous of the straight woman. It's that simple.
What do you think? And this is pure speculation on your part, my part. What do you think's driving that? Why are they doing that?
I guess they just, from my basketball experience and knowledge, they, for some reason, they don't like the way she played at Iowa. Yeah, they drafted her number one, but they seemed like the higher ups, the brain trust, drafted her to be more of a standard point guard, and not the point guard that she was, the playmaker, scorer combination she was at Iowa. That's why you drafted Caitlin Clark. That's why we fell in love with her style. That's why she was the biggest attraction in all of team sports for a few years there, because people had never seen this before from a woman basketball player, playing with like an Isaiah Thomas, Steph Curry type combination point guard. She was something special, unique. And it seemed like even though they drafted her number one, they didn't want that style in Indiana, which just baffles me, because she won with that style. Now, she didn't win a title, but she took a team that had no business probably being in the Final Four twice by playing that style. And if Indiana gets back to that wide open style, they'd have to keep people out of the building every night. But now they're having trouble selling tickets because Caitlin's become more of a ordinary looking point guard. She's still good, but she's not the Caitlin Clark that we fell in love with when she was at Iowa, and even her first year with the Fever.
Jeez Louise, man. This man has said everything that we want. He said everything that we're thinking. Mychal Thompson is ethering the entire WNBA right now. This is an ether job in the WNBA, the Indiana Fever, and what's going on with that front office. Why did you draft her? Exactly. Why did you draft her? What was the purpose of drafting Caitlin Clark if this is what you were going to do? How could you watch someone do all that and then bring them on and then try to turn them into something that they're not? It's just utterly ridiculous. That's the number one pick in the draft. It wasn't like she was a third round pick. She wasn't a role player. She's a superstar. And you try to turn her into a role player. It's crazy.
I'm glad you went there. Great segue. You say you've been watching her since her sophomore year in college. So clearly you watched her rookie season with Christy Sides, and they had a rough start, but the second half of that season, I thought her and Christy Sides worked wonderfully together and had come to an agreement on how they were going to play. And they had a lot of success the second half of the season. Caitlin Clark was very effective. Aaliyah Boston was very effective. Kelsey Mitchell was amazing and nearly as important as Caitlin Clark. Why in the hell did they let go of Christy Sides? Were you as surprised as I was that they moved on from Christy Sides?
Yes, I was, because it seemed like she encouraged Caitlin to be Caitlin. Caitlin was playing free flowing, coming down, pulling up, shooting threes, shooting those logo threes, 30-footers that the fans love. Now, she didn't make all of them, but she made a good high percentage of them. And that style really brought in the fans, brought in the eyeballs, brought in the TV ratings, and they won. They turned around. They won 20 games that year, 27 games that year from winning 4 or 5 the previous year. So obviously that style could win in the WNBA. And for some reason, they decided, I don't know, the GM or the president of the team said, no, we don't want to play that style. We want to play more traditional style, more of the Indiana Hoosier style or the Hoosier style from the movie. And instead of playing the wide open Golden State style with Steph Curry. And that just baffles me, because not only did they show that they could win with that style, but it was very appealing to everybody. That's why all of a sudden the ratings went up. TV money came in because of what Caitlin Clark brought to the WNBA. But it seems like they want to take that away, which just puzzles me.
Michael, you weren't there. You were.
So, again, he's continuing to say everything that we have been thinking for quite some time. Now, I will say this on the Christy Sides front. Look, the Christy Sides thing in the first half of the year was rough, and it took a little while for her to seem to come around, but there were still major problems with the coaching. Like, yeah, she finally kind of let her go, but and Kelsey Mitchell was then playing her best ball as well. But at the same time, there were still issues. There was defensive issues with the team. There was scheme issues that you could see at times. There were issues. There were player personnel issues. Now we all can look back. Hindsight's 2020. Stephanie White was coaching a Connecticut Sun team that was very successful with lesser talent in terms of they played a very bland, boring style of ball, but it was because that was the talent that they had. So you would assume that a coach who's supposed to be considered a good coach in the league and is coming off of successful years with Connecticut would know how to adjust with this great talent on her team. That was the excitement behind it. A guard. She's from Indiana. She played at Indiana, went to Purdue. She's definitely going to want to make Caitlin Clark the greatest that she can make her and let her be who she is and all that stuff. And then what you've seen is the exact opposite. So that is where the frustration lies, because that's why we're on board with moving on from Christy Sides. Because if they didn't have another coach, if Stephanie White hadn't been there, well, I would have said, no, don't fire Christy Sides. Don't fire her, because you're not moving on to anything better. But now it's clear as day that Christy Sides was the better, and we were all wrong. And I'll admit it, I was wrong. I was completely wrong. Now, I had no idea that Stephanie White, a guard, would want to turn this superstar into some role player looking guard. Why would you do that? You're not going to be a better team. It's crazy.
In the NBA, but you weren't there at the time when Magic Johnson butted heads with Paul Westhead and like, hey, we need a new coach in here. And that brought in Pat Riley and the whole Showtime era Lakers. I believe, and I'm going to argue later in the show, Caitlin Clark has to woman up and demand a trade. No different than what Magic Johnson had to do and what we've seen many male players, male athletes do over the years. Do you agree? Caitlin Clark needs to ask out.
If not ask out, she needs to go to the coaches or the gym and says, listen, I can't play this style. This isn't my style. I have to be more of a free-flowing type of player. I got to just let my game go. I got to be more of an adventurous type of player, more aggressive. I can't be walking the ball to the floor. I got to play fast. So she needs to woman up and express that privately to the coaching staff or to somebody. Says, this isn't me. This isn't what made me Caitlin Clark. I've got to be more of a wide open court type player. Can you imagine telling Isaiah Thomas not to be Isaiah Thomas? That just makes no sense to me. Or Steph Curry to walk the ball up the floor and turn down 30-footers. So, yes, Caitlin definitely needs to speak up more. Maybe she is doing it privately. We don't know. But I would sure like to see some kind of result in her game changing and the style the Indiana Pacers play, the Indiana Fever play, to see that change. Maybe they got to open up the court, man, play more free flowing and run the ball more and let Caitlin be Caitlin. Hopefully that'll change here soon, because what they're doing right now is not working. They look frustrated and they look very inconsistent on offense.
I will mention one thing that he did say. He said they had won 4 or 5 games the year before Caitlin got there. That's not correct. They'd won 13 the year before Caitlin got there. I believe the year before is when they had won 7 games, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, their record the year before was 13-27, and she did bring them a year later to the playoffs for the first time in 8 seasons. But the year before was the season that they won. They won in 23. They won 5 games. Okay, so 22, they were 5-31. The year before they were 6-26. So it was back-to-back atrociousness, and then being still bad in 23. And then Caitlin came in, and then you see the shift happening. So, and this goes back to the stuff we're talking about, where we say she has to have some ownership on herself, and you can't be jumping on cameras sitting here saying, yeah, everything's funny and hunky dory. Like, can you imagine if Caitlin Clark had a reaction the way Skylar Diggins reacted yesterday to that butt whipping they got from Toronto and completely skewered her entire team and the coaching staff? I mean, my God, that would be national news. Skylar Diggins does it, and the only reason it's anywhere is because of podcasts, because you're not seeing it on television, because nobody cares about Skylar Diggins. And I like Skylar Diggins, and I got no problem with what you did. But if Caitlin Clark did that, oh my God. So yeah, Caitlin Clark's got to speak up for herself, no question about it.
Do they have the personnel to play Caitlin style? You know, I look at a year ago when they brought in DeWanna Bonner and Natasha Howard. I was like, well, they're accomplished players, and so on the surface, I was excited. But when you look at their style of play, they're half-court players. When I look at who they replaced them with, this Monique Billings and Maisha Hines-Allen, those are half-court players. Do they have the personnel to play Caitlin style?
Yes, they do. Like you just mentioned Monique Billings. She can run. She gets up on the floor and Caitlin throws the ball. Kelsey Mitchell's very fast. You know, Sophie and Lexi are athletic wings. They can run the floor. So they definitely have the foot speed to open up the floor and play more of a fast break, wide open game. Those girls, Leah Boston can run the floor. How many times have we seen her running the floor and Caitlin Clark throws ahead and hits her on the run and she finishes at the rim? So they definitely have the personnel to play a faster pace. And Stephanie White needs to recognize that.
Stephanie White has a different style and system, and it seems like her connections with the front office, Lynn Dunn recruited her to Purdue as a player. It seems like the organization is all behind Stephanie White and her style as opposed to the player's style. Can Stephanie White and Caitlin Clark coexist?
If they want to get the most out of Caitlin's career, they have to. Stephanie White has to change her philosophy and and adopt the Pat Riley style. Open up the Showtime era. Get away from this Paul Westhead style where he wanted to walk the ball up the floor because he had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and Magic Johnson says, no, man, we got to run. And Stephanie White needs to recognize this. Hey, Caitlin Clark is at her best. Your team is at their best when Caitlin Clark's allowed to freelance and do what she did when she was at Iowa. It'll benefit everybody. Kelsey Mitchell will get more open shots. Lexi Hull and Sophie Cunningham will get more layups on the break. Leah Boston, Mo Billings, they will all benefit from a faster pace and letting Caitlin run the show and take over.
Mike?
That's the mic drop one right there. That's the mic drop of them all. Adopt the Pat Riley style, where you let Magic Johnson go be Magic Johnson and become the Showtime Lakers. That is what he's talking about. I mean, that is the most basic form right there. Let her be her. You think you're a great coach? Well, you need to let your player be great. You're supposed to coach to the strengths of your player to make your player as great as possible. And basically what Mychal Thompson has just said is that Stephanie White, you suck. Like you totally suck. Bluntly, you suck. And until you fix it, you suck. Because this should not be a problem. We should not be watching Kelsey Mitchell dribbling the air out the ball. I think part of the reason Kelsey Mitchell's dribbling the air out of the ball is because of the offense. Because the ball's in her hands. Because instead of her being a finisher, she's being forced to be a starter. Like when I say, like she's being given the ball at the beginning of plays. Whereas in the past, and in the end of the first season, she was finishing. She was the finisher. She was being put in a position to score. And we all know Kelsey Mitchell can score. But what we also know is that she can't dribble a lick and she's not a creator. And then when she had this team on her shoulders for 7 years, they were terrible because she's not that type of player. And yet Stephanie White's going back in that direction to make it be Kelsey Mitchell's squad. And you're seeing what's happening on offense. His son, Klay Thompson, had a game where he scored over 60 points on like 11, 12, 13 dribbles. Kelsey Mitchell dribbled 13 times on one possession in a circle yesterday. Or whatever it was, Saturday. She dribbled 13 times in a circle on one possession. You gotta let the great players be great, bro. And he's right. That is the mic drop of this entire interview.
Why not? Let's just move Caitlin Clark to Los Angeles. That's what's best for the league overall. If the franchise is popping in Los Angeles, the greatest basketball players, the biggest attractions, from Wilt to Kareem to Shaq to LeBron to Luke, they all end up in Los Angeles. Why shouldn't the WNBA do what the NBA does? Ship the biggest attraction to Los Angeles.
That's a great idea. I would love it, of course, being out here in LA, of course, and working for the Lakers myself. So I would love if that comes to fruition, but I don't think it's going to happen. I'd be shocked if the Indiana Fever decide to trade Caitlin Clark. I mean, she is the reason why that place has 15 to 17,000 people in that arena. If they trade Caitlin, they'll get a good package for her, but I think the attendance would drop down to around 8,000 or 9,000.
I'm not sure if that really matters, Michael. And I say that.
I think it would drop to about 5, 8 or 9. It would drop to about 5.
These WNBA franchises, particularly with Herb Simon, they seem to be tax write-offs more than businesses. Because if it were a business, they would have surrounded Caitlin Clark with everything she needs from the get-go if this were a business. And the other thing, and I don't want to drag you into my hot water, but I don't know, have you watch closely, but so they have Bree Hall, Raven Johnson, Aaliyah Boston, and Tyisha Harris. These are all former South Carolina Don Staley players. This would be like if the Lakers drafted Magic and surrounded him with Bobby Knight's players and had 4 or 5 guys from Bobby Knight's system on the team. That wouldn't make sense. And so this is where I go, like, they haven't been professional. They haven't executed a strategy of like, hey, we're doing what's best for business, and what's best for business is for Caitlin Clark to be leading the Showtime Fever. I just don't, I think they have no choice but to trade Caitlin Clark. And I think they're trying to put Caitlin Clark in a position where she demands the trade, which kind of lets them off the hook. It wasn't our idea. We wanted this to work. And Caitlin Clark and her father need to give them what they want.
Well, all the South Carolina players on one team for the Fever, that can still work, Jason, because think about it. The New York Knicks right now, all of Jay Bright's players play for him. Villanova players, Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, who else? Josh Hart. They had DiVincenzo there last year before they traded him. And they won with all those Villanova players on the same team coming over to the Knicks. So it can be done, even though you got a bunch of Carolina players there, and they are good players. So Stephanie White just has to, accept changing a system and let Caitlin be Caitlin. That'll solve all the Fever's problems right there. Yes, she's got to improve in some areas too. She's got to be able to score more, going to her right, and not just rely on the step back three. She's got to, stop the the careless turnovers that we see sometimes, and of course, play better on defense. So she has some.
Number 22 overall on defensive analytics in the WNBA. She's number 22 overall. She's the 8th best guard in the WNBA. I didn't make the stat up. I'm not the analytics guy. 23rd in win shares defensively in the WNBA. 7th overall for guards. She's better than we thought, apparently.
Proven some areas, too. She's not perfect. No basketball player is, except maybe, of course, Jordan and Kobe and maybe Wemby, if Wemby ever gets in the paint. But Caitlin needs to improve herself. But you can win with those South Carolina players because those ladies are winners themselves. They're big-time winners in college, and they can be winners in the WNBA, too.
I'm going to leave it at that, man. If you want to see the rest of the interview, I'll link it in the description. But basically, let Caitlin be Caitlin. He said it. He said what we've been saying. And this is a massive call out to the Indiana Fever, a massive call out on Stephanie White. I'm going to say thank you to Jason Whitlock for getting this guy on because this was enjoyable. Very enjoyable because we've needed this. You need men coaching women. I'm sorry. At one point I said, let women coach women, let men coach men. No. We need men coaching women. Unless you're a strong female personality like a Becky Hammond or even a Natalie Nakase or, Dawn Staley or a Sandy Brondello. These women need dudes to coach them because most women don't have the strong over-the-top personality that a guy like a Jose Fernandez has with the Dallas Wings, where he had no problem just a handful of games in saying, this is some dog shit, and we better get it together because it's a real big problem. And what do you know? They're sitting right now at 7-3, tied for the second best record in the WNBA right now in his first year. So, y'all let me know y'all thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Hype the video. What did you think about Mychal Thompson had to say? What do you think of this interview? He said himself he doesn't think that they'll ever trade her. But Whitlock did say it. Maybe, she and her father need to say, no, trade me. Get me out of here. You don't want me. I'm not here to be your pin cushion, your dartboard. So when we lose, it's my fault. But when we win, Kelsey Mitchell gets all the credit. Stephanie White gets all the credit. Again, tonight we will be live at 7 o'clock. Indiana Fever, Washington Mystics on all 3 platforms. I do appreciate it. Jump on board. Like the video, hype the video, subscribe, and comment. I appreciate y'all. This is Indiana Fever Unfiltered, powered by Come On Now, the podcast. Come on now.